Hey, welcome back to another episode of Rock Fantasy Files. We're doing this on a Monday night tonight, and Pete Pardo's Hudson Valley Squares are off, and I've been doing some concerts on Wednesdays. I thought this would be a perfect chance to pop in and do this one. Well, of course, we're on the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to set the time machine back to 1983 and revisit two classic metal releases. Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind, going up against Merciful Fate's Melissa. I'll introduce the crew we got tonight. We got Ove, of course, from Norway, staying up all night with us. We got Mr. Count Ralphus. We got Tony Dio with us from North Carolina. And we got Myles Bergeron, who's looking a little different. He's trimmed up the beard for this episode, I guess, from Louisiana. We got Denis Barthe, Sasquatch, from the Mighty Aggression up in British Columbia, I guess you'd want to say. And we got Hansi, the wild German metalhead, and he's going to tell a little bit about his new project he's got going when it's his turn tonight. We got Mr. Steve Levin from Mechanical Menace, longtime friend and employee of Rock Fantasy. And we stole Craig Kaminski from the Hudson Valley Squares again, which is always a pleasure. We may have a couple of people popping in that were running late tonight. Mr. Pardo may join us if he can get out of he's doing some other taping tonight. So he's going to try to make it. Here's a little bit about each record. Peace of Mind is the fourth studio album by Iron Maiden that was released on May 16th, 83 in the United Kingdom by EMI Records, United States on Capitol. It was the first album to feature Nico McBrain, who had recently left the band Trust, and has been Iron Maiden's drummer ever since. And the album was produced by Martin Birch and recorded at Compass Point in Nassau, Bahamas, January to March 83. It was mixed in Electric Ladyland Studios in New York City. It reached number 14 on the Billboard 200 in USA and is certified platinum also here. Now, Melissa is the debut album by Danish heavy metal band Merciful Fate, released in October of 83. Good month for that to be released, of course. It was the first album released by Roadrunner Records. This was also the first Merciful Fate effort to get an official release in the United States through Megaforce Records. On July 18th, 83, Merciful Fate started recording at Easy Sound Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark, with producer Henrik Lund. He was the co-owner of the studio along with his brother. The band spent 12 days in the studio to record and mix the album. The songs had been thoroughly arranged and rehearsed in advance to make the most of the limited time. Lund, who had never produced a metal band before, mixed the album on his own, but accepted comments from the musicians on different takes. And that's my rundown on these two albums, and they really need no introduction. Some of us got Iron Maiden shirts on. I see one or two with Merciful Fate shirts on, so I don't know if we're fooling the public or trying to mislead, whether we're just wearing, oh, there's a Fate one there, there's a couple, so I don't know. We'll have to see what comes true on this one. But we're going to start off with Hansi tonight, and because Hansi has some work duties, he has to go work, and Denny's going to go play a hockey game when he gets done.
Fuck yeah, he's going to check somebody for me.
Myles, are you going to wrestle an alligator when you get done?
It's possible.
All right.
It's not out of the question.
So welcome, Hansi, and let's get your 2 cents on these two great records and what one you would take home from the record shop if you only had money to buy one.
All right. Well, first of all, hey guys, great to see you all. Sorry I always got to bug out so quickly, but I do have a shitty job and it sucks. I wish I wasn't. I'm a starving musician still, you know. Anyway, I got a new band. It's called Buried Faith. And this band has actually been around since 1988. I started in Germany, but never made it past the demo. I got the right people. These are all professionals. If you like old creators, Sodom, Living Death, Violent Force, then this is up your alley right here. Buried Faith. Here it is.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful new patch. Anyway, so brand new band. We are actually doing a cover by Violent Force, Destructed Life. And that's one of the only one cover we do, and the rest is all originals. And this is going to be a monster. That's all I got to say to that. Hope you guys check out Buried Faith. We're going to come out soon with some music. And all right, here we go. 1983. Hansi was 15 years old and already probably 5 years a metalhead and buying metal records. And I remember buying Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind right here, original copy, at a record store in Germany. And of course, I was already into Maiden from the first album, and I loved everything they did. Even so, Paul Di'Anno is my favorite singer, and the first two Maiden albums to me are untouchable. But Number of the Beast obviously ruled them, and Peace of Mind came out, just Where Eagles Dare, Revelation. I mean, To Tame a Lamb just absolutely rules. This whole record is just a great, great follow-up to Number of the Beast. Um, Not my favorite Iron Maiden album of all of them, I must say, but definitely one of their best. Absolutely. Great cover, just the whole inlay of it, the whole album. It was great as a teenager. Yeah, exactly. Oh, mine isn't original, so I have the original order form in here, so
Oh wow. Maybe we can
yeah.
order some t-shirts at like $3
I
a
was
piece.
hoping for like £4 a piece. But yeah, super good record. I've seen him on that tour in 1983 in Germany when Michael Schenker group opened, and amazing, absolutely amazing show. And like I said, this album will always be a part of my life. And as a 15-year-old teenager, you all know when you were that age, you discovered something new. You always, do we never forget that, So this album always means something to me. And it's one of my favorite Bruce Dickinson's albums for sure. Bruce is, my old neighbor in Bonn, Germany. We lived next door to each other for many years, and so
Wow.
yeah, I used to drink with him quite a few pints in some bars. Anyway, great record, and absolutely love it. Next record, Merciful Fate, Melissa, original in shrink wrap, my friend. That's right.
Oh.
Yes, this is a heavy hitter right here, man. This is like still sealed, actually. So, Megaforce original. I have this album in 9 different versions,
Wow.
different colors, different releases, different countries. So that should tell you right there where I'm at with this record. To me, when this album came out in 1983, I was absolutely, absolutely blown away. Even so, I already had Nuns Have No Fun, the EP that came out the year before on Rave On Records. Liked it quite a bit, but I think there was a little bit more of a poppier sound at that time. I want to say they weren't as heavy, but just laying the needle on that first side of the record and Evil. I mean, I was absolutely just mind blown by everything Merciful Fate at this time did. And Curse of the Pharaohs. I mean, come on. Everything on this album rules. Black Funeral, Satan's Fall, the song Melissa, what a absolute, if you want to call it that way, power ballad. But just, I always loved King Diamond's voice. I know a lot of friends in Germany as well. Back in the day, we met King in '84 on the Don't Break the Earth tour the first time. And people actually were telling him, saying, man, you sound like a eunuch. It's like, what's wrong? Somebody kicked you in the balls and well, you can't sing right. And I was like, dude, this man is a genius. But a lot of people didn't like it. They didn't like his vocals. I love him to this day, and King Diamond is an amazing performer. I mean, look how old this guy is now, and still that voice is still pretty much the same as it was back then, with not a lot of help. So yeah, Melissa, for me, even so, I would go for Don't Break the Earth probably over Melissa, but Melissa will win for me 1000% over Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind. Now, if Iron Maiden would lay here with Killers now, that'd be a different story. But I have to give Merciful Fate the top #1 seed over Iron Maiden.
All right. Thank you for your time tonight, Hansi.
Absolutely. And just that I always, when this is recorded, I always watch this. I always send this to friends in Germany and
Thank you.
and everything. So then I watch everything. I love you guys, and I'm sorry that I don't have that much time.
Hey,
Especially during the week, it's really hard for me. But I love doing this, you know, and with fellow metalheads, you know, talk about these kind of old records and whatnot, you know, that always are dear to my heart, you know. So
it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I don't care if you can only come for 5 minutes. It's better than you not coming on at all.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Yes,
very
of
much.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look out for his new band. Check him out.
Yes, check out Buried Faith. You're going to hear something soon. There will be some big announcements coming there. So
Good to hear. Good to hear.
yep.
All right, we're gonna keep this ball rolling here, and we're gonna go over to. I think I'm gonna mix this up a little bit tonight. I usually make him wait till very late in the show. I'm gonna put Mr. Stephen Levin on next.
Whoa.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Hansi.
Bye.
Wait, I think I need another drink of this Red Bull. I'm like
All
sitting here.
right, so do you want me to go? I can go to someone else next.
Oh no, I mean I'm fine. It's
All right.
All right. So here we
I
go.
shocked you.
This was the year that I graduated. So yeah, I'm an old fuck. But
Not as old as me.
this was that's all right. It's all relative now.
Yes.
So first of all, let me start out by saying hello, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always love hearing everyone's opinion. And it's always good to go back and listen to these albums. This one was a no-brainer for me. The funny thing is that one album was a lot worse than I thought it was. And guys, you can probably imagine which one I'm speaking of. But, you know, I have a little bit more of a link to Merciful Fate and everything from going to Rock and Roll Heaven and having the 4-song EP and the demo stuff even before this album came out. And I knew when they were recording it from going down to John's East store and everything. And, you know, so I definitely have a closer bond to it. So, you know, I'll start out with the Iron Maiden. And for me, much like Hansi, Iron Maiden's first album and Killers, they will always be two of my favorite albums. They were just phenomenal things. The artwork, just that chunk of time, being young and just everything about him. Paul Di'Anno had his hair cut short because he worked in a factory and couldn't grow it out. You know, if you read his book, that's what it says. But the bottom line is I just thought it was so cool. He was like so punky looking and so different than the other guys. And, you know, I mean, if you read the book, you'll realize that was Paul being the front man of that band. Had they kept him, they would have never progressed to where they are now because he really was into women and fighting and drinking and just, he was a tough guy, man. I mean, if you read the book, he really got himself into some trouble. And Bruce was, you know, Bruce was more of a, I mean, his first name was Bruce. Bruce styled himself after a Monty Python character, you know, with that name. But anyway, I love Bruce's singing in Samson. I really like Number of the Beast more. But for me personally, and I'm going to be this guy, and just remember, I'm not a gatekeeper. This is just my opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. But and people are going to hate me for this, and I'm sure I'm going to hear some comments, but I am not a fan of Bruce Dickinson. I don't like his attitude just overall as a person, from calling out people smoking weed in the first few rows. I mean, what are you kidding? I mean, that's pompous, bro. Please, these people were paying money to come see you. But just overall, through everything, I mean, guy's got incredible energy on stage. His voice has remained amazing, and I do respect him for what he does. But that being said, to me, Bruce Dickinson is a point-sized yodeler, and he's really good at yodeling, but I don't know about singing, man. It's not my cup of tea. If they would have kept Paul Di'Anno, if this was like Hansi said, if we were talking about first two Iron Maiden albums, I would have a different opinion. But Number of the Beast was certainly better than Peace of Mind. And Peace of Mind, there was not, like, going back and listening to it, I thought, oh man, I'm going to go back and listen to it, and I'm going to hear this stuff I haven't heard for a while. And wow, you know, I remember these song titles, but I don't remember the songs necessarily. And I went back and listened to it, and I was like, whoa, oh, this is bad. Oh, no. And it just, the songs, like, they're epic but boring. While on the other hand, if you listen to the Merciful Fate album, they have Satan's Fall. It's like a 12-minute song, epic and long, and it's never boring at any point in the song. So obviously for me, I'm going to choose the Merciful Fate and this battle. Can't say anything wrong about that. The first song, Evil, I'll be the first at your funeral and the last to leave. I mean, if that doesn't spell Satan, Satan's Fall, which my band used to cover, all 12 minutes of it, as epic as you can be. So much material there. The song Melissa, which we had done an episode of this earlier. I think it was probably last year. And we were lucky enough to have King listening. It was a show with Robin. I don't know if you recall.
That's
And
right. He was listening to it,
yeah,
wasn't
he was listening, and he confirmed some information that I had met one of his. I had met his manager back in the day, and he actually told us the
Wow.
whole thing of Melissa, how Melissa was his skull, and how someone had stolen it, and how upset he was, and everything. And at that time, he had not gotten Melissa back, and I think that at some point he did. But
Wow.
whatever, you know, that album for me will always be just a great album. Sherman and Denner, I mean, you can't just talk about King Diamond, you got to talk about Timmy Grabber, rest in peace. His bass playing is phenomenal in that. It certainly is equal to the stuff that Steve Harris was doing in Iron Maiden. Two great bass players. Drumming styles both very similar to you know, each other. Clive Burr, the Nico McBain, and oh my God, Tim Ruz, right?
Rose.
Yeah,
you're right.
threw me for a minute. But Sherman and Denner, two of the best guitarists. What a great tandem. It amazes me going back and listening to some of these leads. And God damn it, I thought I was playing Curse of the Pharaohs right, and I got to go back and figure another part out because I'm playing it wrong. But the stuff that a lot of the stuff that Michael Denner just does in this small space, he just keeps everything within 4 frets if you're a guitarist, and he doesn't move much. He does a lot of string skipping and stuff like that, and a lot of just bending techniques, and it's just amazing what he does in just a small area. And just very, very influential album to me. Iron Maiden, not so much. Like I said, the first 2 Iron Maidens, 2 of my favorite of all time. But this one, not so much. So yeah, Merciful Fate kicks the crap out of that. I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the asshole that everybody's going to go, oh my God, I can't believe he doesn't like Bruce Dickinson. I know Steve gave me the thumbs down, but you know, that's my opinion. Like I said, I respect everybody's opinion because, you know, that's what it's about. Music is so subjective. And yeah, you know, I mean, hey man, I'll fight Eddie because I got Satan on my side. I don't care.
Eddie's gonna stab you. Look at these
Dude,
guys.
Eddie's just a zombie. I have incarnate evil Satan. I mean, he knows what's up.
Here's King Diamond. I hope he's watching. Maybe he'll send you tickets after tonight's show.
Hail Satan!
All right, I kind of knew that Steve was going to pick up Merciful Fate already, so there was no surprise there.
No.
I've worked with him for years. Anyhow, so we got Fate 2-0 here after Hansi and Steve Levin. Now we're going. Pete Pardo, welcome to the show. Glad you could make it. Are you on a time contingent here that you need to get in and out quick?
I probably can stay for about a half hour.
All right, so I'm going to go to one more person, and I can hop over to you, or maybe 2 persons and get to you. Is that fine? All right, we're going to go to North Carolina and see Tony Dio and see what he has to say here.
Hey guys, always good to be here. This was a really tough comparison because I love both of these albums a whole lot. And I mean, when I was really discovering a whole lot of different heavy metal bands was in 82, 83. And when we had, you know, I'd seen Iron Maiden's t-shirts on some kids at school and stuff. And, you know, we got MTV that summer and I saw the Flight of Icarus videos. That might have been the first time I heard Iron Maiden was that video. So, but my first Maiden album that I got was Number of the Beast. So that's always been my favorite one. But when I did get Peace of Mind here, it is a great record. I mean, the lineup, I mean, the band was just so tight at that period. And I mean, We're Eagles There is the opening track. And that is one of the most iconic drum intros on any metal album. And that was courtesy of the new drummer, Nico McBrain at the time. But I mean, I like pretty much most of all the songs on here. I'm not a big fan of Quest for Fire. I think that's not a lot of Maiden fans' favorite song on the album at all. And probably Die With Your Boots On wasn't that big on either. I mean, the live version on Live After Death was so much better. But I would give this album still a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's just such a great album. Iconic album cover, of course. Love the inside cover where it shows them sitting at the table with the brain.
Oh yeah.
On a brain with the play on words, peace of mind.
Yeah.
Just to show a couple of little pieces, I've always got some cool memorabilia. Here's a UK single for the Trooper, and it has the the Cross-Eyed Mary cover, the Jethro Tull cover.
Yes, yes.
Which is one of my favorite covers they ever did. And we have the Flight of Icarus. I got a 7-inch single here.
That's
Love
great,
this artwork. It's like Eddie is, you know, it's like you've got the storyline for Flight of Icarus with his wings turned to ashes. Well, you see the angel's on fire here, but if you look, it's like Eddie shot him down. And the angel really looks a lot like the Swan Song Led Zeppelin angel. I mean, the way he's staged, he's posed. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. You know, like,
it actually is. It actually, you know, you read the Derek Riggs book. That was he actually did that on purpose.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's really cool. And then
And
of
also,
course, I have
Eddie looks so angry in that picture, man. He's so
Eddie
pissed.
always looks angry.
Look of like terror on his face. So I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I love that artwork.
This was a great little. I think this came out in '95. They did a 2 CD set from Castle with a little sash, and the second CD has the B-side. The cover songs are on the B-side, the Cross-Eyed Mary, and they did Montrose I Got the Fire with Bruce singing it. You know, they'd already done it with Paul Diano. So then we're going to go to Merciful Fate. So I was introduced to Merciful Fate probably around the time that Fatal Portrait from King Diamond came out. I was a late bloomer on that one. A good friend of mine who's passed on, Ricky Proctor, he made me a cassette that had Fatal Portrait on one side, and the other side, he had this album called Curse of the Pharaohs, which is, I guess, is like a pirated bootleg record of Merciful Fate demos. That most of them ended up getting released on the what was it, Return of the Vampire some years later. So that's the first time I heard King Diamond and Merciful Fate, was hearing that cassette that he had made me. So I went out to Record Bar and I ordered Melissa and Don't Break the Oath on cassette. And it took a while for them to get them. I think I got Melissa first, and then maybe several weeks later, the Don't Break the Oath showed up. But they were imports, so I guess they had a hard time getting them. But anyhow, love Merciful Fate's Melissa. This is great. I love the album art. Really cool album. It's the music on here. It catches me. It's just such great songs, such great riffs. It's like you were saying, Steve, about the Denner and Sherman. I mean, I put them right there with Downing and Tipton and Scott Gorham, Brian Robinson. I mean, they play with so much soul in their styles. I hear a lot of Michael Schenker and Michael Denner's style.
Absolutely, definitely, you nailed it right there.
And but I mean, I love every song on this album, and it's just not a bad track on it. I mean, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. So for sure, I'm going to go with this one as my pick over. And it's tough because I love Iron Maiden. And just want to show a couple of little things, little souvenirs from them, collectibles. Here's this is the Black Funeral 12-inch single from the album. And some of you may have heard that they were originally going to do another album cover for Melissa at one point, and this was going to be it. It's a weird watercolor looking.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
This is an unofficial version of Melissa with that cover.
Wow.
It's like a gatefold, but that was going to be the original art. And if I'm not mistaken, my friend Gary Schaefer that runs the Heavy Metal Museum, if you look him up online, I think he has like the original album layout that hadn't been cut, and he has a version of this, if I'm not mistaken, in his collection. I saw it somewhere online. But definitely, we were talking about the song Melissa just a second ago. Here's a cool, this is a bootleg live album, and this is actually from '82. So it's before the album came out, and they do a lot of songs that are on Melissa. Of course, they do some stuff that's on the EP as well, but they have the original version of the song Melissa is on here, and it's titled The Witch, and it has alternate lyrics. So that's really cool to hear as well.
Wow.
But yeah, Merciful Fate's going to definitely get my vote.
So we got a vote for Merciful Fate, and there's King. He's waving at everyone.
Dayton's win.
So Denny's got to go play hockey, and Pete's only got a half hour. So I'm going to go to Denny, and then we're going to go to Pardo, and then we'll wrap around to the rest of us tonight. Welcome,
Yes.
Denny.
Hey, thank you guys. Always a pleasure to see all of you guys. And nobody mentioned Mr. Pardo showing up with the coolest shirt of the night.
Burn.
It is
Deep purple.
Love that album. So good.
my favorite Deep Purple.
Yeah, I'm not
As
gonna be I'm not gonna be as mean as Mr. Stephen Levin
He's a very mean
on his
man.
report on like Iron Maiden, but you know, I mentioned it many times. Like after listening to Venom, like my taste in music really like became poor. So like I had a hard time appreciating anything that was good. So I think when Peace of Mind came out, I was looking for something heavier. I was looking for something faster. Even though I have to say, like Where Eagles There and Revelation got to be in my top 10 Iron Maiden songs of all time. I felt the rest of the album like, to me, like Flight of Icarus, and like, you know, they were pushing that song is what like it was like the hit single, and I was like, seems like soft to me. Like I was not getting the attack that we had like with like you know, Running Free and even Run to the Hills had a little bit more spunk than Flight of the Icarus. And after that, like Die With Your Boots On doesn't work for me. The Trooper, I'll be honest, originally when it came out, I liked it a lot more than after hearing it 1 million times after. But it's you know, I did like the song, and the rest of the album, like I think To Tame a Land, I was visiting it once in a while, but like Still Life, Quest for Fire, and Sun and Steel to me is like not even a go-to. I was a big Paul Di'Anno fan. I saw them live with Paul Di'Anno. But the Peace of Mind, I think the tour was a realization of how big Iron Maiden became, because I saw the tour. Coney Hatch opened for them
Yes.
in Montreal.
Yes, they did.
And it was at the Montreal Forum. So I saw them like in a small, like, you know, 1,000 maybe like a place called the Spectrum in Montreal, which is like a smaller venue. Then after that, they went to the Verdun Auditorium, where like it was more like a you know, like maybe like a 5,000 seater hockey arena. And now like 3 albums later, they were playing in front of like 18,000 people. So it was amazing to see that progression. But yeah, like I don't know, like I do like Bruce Dickinson's voice. Like I'm not like as bad as Steven. Like I thought it was the right selection for them. I think he does a great job on this album. He wrote Revelations, which I think is one of like Maiden's best song, and both Where Eagles There and Revelation have multiple repetition of the same riffs over and over again, but somehow it works. It doesn't matter if they do it like 30 times in a row with like war missiles going on, like whatever they do for noise in the back. But so that was Peace of Mind. Like to me, it was starting to be the decline, like of in my mind, like of Iron Maiden, even though I always respected what they did afterwards. But at that point, they got replaced, like the Fire got replaced by band like Slayer and Metallica and Exodus and all those bands. But I still would give this album like a 6 or 7 out of 10, because Where Eagles There and Revelation, I think, are very strong, like amazing songs, and they still to this day, you know, you can still play them and enjoy them. The other one, like Miss Melissa, it's one of those albums that I can like honestly like sit down in front of someone and say, like, you know, to me this is one of the perfect records. It's a 10 out of 10. There's not a single bad song on that album. I saw them live in Montreal. Voivod was the first time I saw Voivod live. They opened for Merciful Fate.
Wow.
And it was you know, it was such like I think Steven mentioned it, like you would see them live play and you would even get more that Schenker vibe, like that, like most guitar players in the late 70s, early 80s were all like Michael Schenker fans, like even like guys like, you know, Van Halen and Ace Frehley and the guys from Kiss and anybody. But these guys, and they were from like Denmark, that was like obscure for me. I thought they all live in castle and like, you know, burn witches, and I don't know, like I just thought they were like cool people. But yeah, the album doesn't have like doesn't have a weak moment. I know my band Aggression never ever even touched or tried to cover any Merciful Fate because like vocally we couldn't even barely sing Metallica, so imagine trying to do like King Diamond. But we like I can play on guitar every single song on that album. And like I was just doing solos, like we're in the studio right now recording the next Aggression record, and one of the solo like sounds almost too much like Into the Coffin. Like I had to like I might have to go and redo it because I listened to it and I was like, wow, it sounds very close to it, so I might have to change it. But yeah, every song on that album is like a classic of like like heavy metal. With Melissa, like at first I was like, oh, like but somehow it really was touched me the way that it was sung and the lyrics and at the sound of the demon bell, it's so heavy, and like Black Funeral, of course, and all that. So for me, Melissa definitely wins over Peace of Mind. And to me, like Melissa was like one of the best album of the first part of like the 80s with like Riot, Fire Down Under, and a few other records. So yeah, my vote goes for Melissa. 10 out of 10. Amazing record.
Right.
Still listen to it all the time.
So far, we've got a Fate ×4 here. 4 for Fate, nothing for Maiden so far. And we're gonna go to our special guest tonight, who's hopped over. We've stole him from Hudson Valley Squares on his own Monday night. We decided to run a Monday night since I'm going to see Enslaved and Somnium and Black Anvil on Wednesday. And last Wednesday, I was at Crisian and Destruction with Mr. Levin and Ralphus. So,
Cool
and
pictures.
Decrepit Birth. So we figured we'd steal a Monday slot. And Pete, I'm glad you could join us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks
So
for
this
coming
is this is a really cool exercise here because I don't think I have ever compared these two albums before, and because they're kind of very different, and ironically, they're my two favorite albums from both bands.
Wow.
Yeah, so going in, I was like, oh, this is really fucking hard because they both rule. They're both legendary albums, and they're both my favorites from each band. So I was like, all right, so how do I figure this one out? So I went track to track on both of them, and we'll start with Melissa first. There's not a bad song on here. This lineup has probably one of the best and most unsung guitar teams in all of heavy metal. And I think it's a real shame that at the time when this band was in its infancy, we really took for granted how great they were. And now that they're not playing together anymore, we look back on this era in Merciful Fate and we're like, these two guys are among the greats. Someone mentioned Downing and Tipton and whatever, and a couple of guys from Thin Lizzy. Quite frankly, these guys are better than Downing and Tipton. I don't care what anybody says. The riffs, the solos, just killer music. These guys were prog fans. You can tell the arrangements are so intricate. King's voice is so unique. And I mean, when you have songs like Evil and Curse of the Pharaohs and Satan's Fall and Melissa, I mean, it's just one banger after another on here. This still to this day is my favorite Merciful Fate album, and it only gets better with time. Now this, I've loved since the first time I got it. And I remember I loved those first two Maiden albums. Love Number of the Beast, but when I heard Peace of Mind, I was like, yeah, this became instantly my favorite Maiden album. Where Eagles Dare is one of the greatest openers of all time. Revelations is killer. I love Flight with the Flight of Icarus. I've heard it too much, but I still love it. The Trooper is legendary. I love To Tame a Land. Quest for Fire kind of sucks, though. And Still Life is pretty good, but it's not great. I like Die With Your Boots On a lot. I do like it better on the live album. And Sun and Steel is pretty strong. So right there, I've already questioned a couple tracks on the album. So as great as like probably 3/4 of this album really is, there's some weak spots on it. There's no weakness on here. This is 10 out of 10. This is maybe 8.5 or 9 out of 10 for me. So the battle is won by Merciful Fate here. I was not predicting that when you gave me this assignment, Steve, but the more I thought about it and the more I went through these albums, I'm like, yeah, I got to go with Merciful Fate here.
Wow.
Not to say anything, because I still love this, but I love this just a little bit more.
Awesome.
Cool. Pardo kind of stunned me there because he pulled out Melissa first. And I'm like, wow, he's tricking us here.
I did that on purpose.
He kind of tricked us.
Ace up the sleeve.
He had an ace up his sleeve. All right. So where are we going to go next? I go to our center square. I'm going to go to Myles. Then we're going to go over to Craig. We're going to go to Norway. We're going to go to Ralph, and we're going to end up with me. We'll see what Myles has to say.
Yeah, so pretty much what everybody has been saying, except for Steve Levin, he pretty much crushed on my. No, but I respect it. I respect his opinion 100%. But these two albums to me are great albums. I love both of these albums, and I think that I know that if you go on any greatest metal albums ever released, you're gonna find these two albums on there.
Mm-hmm.
So these two albums are well known. There's not much to say about both these albums. They're classics in their own right. But the first one I'm gonna go with is Peace of Mind. I love this album. It's not my favorite Iron Maiden album. But I think that the songs on here are really, really strong. Where Eagles Dare is probably one of my favorite Iron Maiden, songs ever released. It's just one of the best openers to an album. Revelations, Flight of Icarus. Yeah, I hear it a bunch, but I still like it a lot. I still like I like Die With Your Boots On. I still jam to that song every time it comes on. The Trooper is a stone cold classic. I like Steel Life and Quest for Fire. Yeah, it's probably my least favorite song on this album, but I still do enjoy it. Really, to me, I don't hate any of these songs on this record, but for me personally, the two albums that this album sits in between are some of my favorites. Like the next record, which is Power Slave, is my favorite Iron Maiden album.
Wow.
So this album, in my opinion, just has the misfortune of coming between Number of the Beast and Power Slave, which those two to me are probably my favorite Iron Maiden albums ever released. But I love Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and I like Nico McBrain coming in for Iron Maiden on here. Really love this album, but I would probably give it an 8 out of 10 in my personal opinion. And going on to the next record, which is Melissa. I'm going to start off with the negatives about this record. All right, now that I got that out the way, this record is this record to me is flawless. The first time I ever heard this record, I instantly fell in love with it. If you asked me to pick my favorite songs off this record and put a gun to my head, I would tell you to drop the hammer, because if I had to pick any song as my favorite off of here, I would probably tie all of them. But Evil, as an opening track, is one of the best opening tracks ever. Curse of the Pharaohs, fucking great. Into the Coven, oh my God, just at the sound of the Demon Bell, Black Funeral, Satan's Fall, Melissa. That's every song off of here. There's no skips on this record. Like everyone said, Sherman and Dinner on this record, and with Merciful Fate, is one of the most underrated guitar duos ever. I put them up against anybody, any guitar duo out there. They are just so great. The riffs on this record are infectious. They stick in your mind. I was listening to this record for this week to get rid of it, and I can't get the riff for Curse of the Pharaohs out of my head because the riffs on here, just anybody who's ever heard this record knows exactly what I'm talking about. And King Diamond's vocals, I know a lot of people, have mixed feelings about it. My personal opinion, I love his vocals, love it with Merciful Fate, love him solo, just love it. It's hard for me to say whether this is my favorite Merciful Fate record, because this one is also a great great album, but I usually tie these two as my favorite. But if I had to rate Melissa, I'm giving it a 20 out of 10.
Wow.
And yeah, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. And obviously there was no question in my mind whenever these two albums went up against each other. There was, even when I went back and listened to them, I already knew it was going to be Melissa.
Very good.
Nice.
Melissa is just tearing up the competition here tonight. Much different than a poll I got on one of our friends, Butch Jones's channel. I put up a poll earlier today on the Butcher Shop, and Maiden won 36-21 on that poll. And so far we have got no one with Maiden on this one. The thumbs down from C11 on the Butcher Shop. Don't let Butch see you now.
No. Me and Butch are friends, but I like pig squeals and cricket chirps. And
Yeah, he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that.
Nah.
As soon as people start growling, Butch is out. So
It's because it's all like Edmonton Oilers fan on his
Yeah.
I know. He likes Gretzky. What can you say? We were more I'm more like a Cam fan.
Well, anyhow, figured I'd give a little. I'd have to give Eddie a little love. Butch's channel is really liking Eddie, so there he is. Anyhow, we're gonna move over to Mr. Craig Kaminski, who we stole from Peter Pardo. Peter Pardo came along to chaperone him at least tonight.
Well, thank you. Well, this is thanks for having me again, Steve.
Thanks for coming.
Great seeing everybody. And this is one of these. If you would have asked me this same question a year ago, I probably would have had a different answer than what I'm going to have. But because growing up, peace of mind has been like a part of my life since I was maybe 13 years old or so, and it was the thing. When I first got into Iron Maiden, it was through hearing Power Slave that my brother had, and then between me and I played it to a friend of mine. We both loved it, and then it's like, well, we got to go get their other albums. And you're 13 years old, you don't have a car, you don't exactly have a lot of money, so you got to depend on your folks to take you out. My buddy proceeded to go out and buy like all the Iron Maiden albums, but I beat him to getting Peace of Mind because he couldn't find that one at the time. So at least I took solace in that. But and you guys, I do like the Peace of Mind album, but there are, as Pete had mentioned, or a couple other years had mentioned too, at least the Quest for Fire I don't particularly care for. And to be perfectly honest, I never liked To Tame a Land, even when I was a kid. I remember hearing that, and I just thought that it was like a 14-year-old's book report set to music. I just never got into it. And I just, even as a kid, I remember reading the words, and it's like I just thought it was totally dorky and everything. I still don't like it. I've tried many times to like replay it, and I do like some of their other long songs, but just not that one. But still do enjoy it. But then what about whenever it was last year when it was announced that Merciful Fate was going to come back and tour for the first time in many years. So and you guys might make fun of me for this, but I didn't have anything by Merciful Fate. I knew of their existence, but I didn't own anything by them. I had a few loose King Diamond songs, and they were mostly the ones that he had made videos out of, like Family Ghost, Welcome Home, Sleepless Nights. I liked those, but I always kind of thought that King's voice was something I could only take in measured doses at the time. But then once he said he was going to do this the tour, and even though it said he was only going to focus on the two 80s albums, I acquired the whole catalog, including the 90s albums or so from my brother, as well as the King Diamond solo albums. And so it's a lot to take in. So for me, having fresh ears with hearing these, the Melissa was not what I expected. I was kind of hearing the voice that I knew already from the handful of King Diamond songs. When I heard Melissa for the first time, and again with fresh ears, and I was like, wow, this is really really good, and this is not what I expected. And that the just the type of music, it wasn't all the falsetto voice and everything, and just like you guys have all said, it's like every song is a banger, keeps you interested. Satan's Fall is like 11 12 minutes long. I'm not a big fan of those, but it keeps your interest the whole time. Also, I was maybe a little worried about sound quality wise. Well, the version that I got was the 25th anniversary edition of Melissa on CD. Sounds great, on headphones. And one of my favorite songs is the outtake song Black Masses. So I mean, it just really, just a great album. So my pick would also be with Melissa. But and like I said, if you would ask me this a year ago, I probably would have said Peace of Mind. It's not my favorite Maiden album either. That still for me rests with Power Slave. But again, the two songs that I don't particularly care for from Peace of Mind are are a little down on the scale than to what I've heard with Melissa. And the Maiden stuff's, some of it's a little bit played out because it's been such a big part of my life for such a long time. And maybe the Merciful Fate would be like that for somebody too, but for me, it's still fresh, and it's almost like it's something. It is something new to my ears. So that I going with King and Merciful Fate.
Awesome.
Could you imagine guys like discovering Merciful Fate for the first time, like in 2022? How cool that would be!
I mean, I knew of the albums. I mean, I've seen the covers everywhere, but it was one of those things that's just I never really, it's like I never gave it a fair shake because I kind of thought, it's 45, 50 minutes of just of everything, and it was like I don't know if I could, I'd get fatigued by that, but really. The stuff just grew on me, and the 90s albums are great too. I mean, I really liked a lot. I wasn't expecting that either. I kind of thought, well, I mean, they're all really strong, and so yeah, it was a surprise to me, and the King. I think I prefer the Merciful Fate albums over the King Diamond albums.
Oh yeah,
but that's just my personal preference. Even though there's
I was going to say that I know people that only like Merciful Fate. They really don't like King solo stuff, and it's the vocals because he really went further with the whole falsetto and all the vocal effects on the King Diamond solo stuff more than he did. His Merciful Fate was a lot raw, had a little more raw sound to it.
You ever stop to think if there was no Melissa or Don't Break the Oath, I think we'd be calling In the Shadows one of the great metal albums of all time because it's really, really good.
That's a great comeback.
That's a great album.
Great comeback.
Pete, if you remembered, in the heat of the pandemic when we were trapped in our homes, we did a Merciful Fate episode. It was me, you, and I believe Brian Slagle, and I forget if there was another guest. Maybe we had little punk people on too.
Elliot was on.
And I remember like Slagle was picking we did the ranking the full albums. And I remember Slagle was really ranking a lot of the 90s stuff. A lot of the deeper stuff very high.
Very high.
Yeah.
But I'll also say that Merciful Fate to me does not have a bad album. No, they have all their albums are great.
Yep, I would agree.
Cool. All right, Craig, thanks for that. And boy, Ove, a few weeks ago, you were the fly in the ointment on an episode. Let's see if you are tonight.
Yeah.
I
believe maybe I will be because I've not heard Melissa until 2 days ago. That's
what?
The first time.
Wait a minute, you're talking about Craig. He's even only 2 days now. Craig was 6 months ago. Look at and now Levin's hiding his head.
Yeah, I don't own a single King Diamond or Merciful Fate album. It's
wow.
I don't know.
And you live in Europe. How does this happen?
I know it's something. I've heard a couple of songs and the vocals, man, they are just killing me dead.
The vocals killed you, so that happens.
Somebody needs to revive me.
So, but I
Get the smell salts out.
this was the assignments. I listened to the album. I've listened to it for the last week, and for the songs I really liked. I liked the sound of the Demon Bell, the Black Funeral, and Melissa. Those were the songs that I liked the best. I have no kind of history with Merciful Fate as you guys, because I haven't listened to them. I've heard like songs now and then on a party or on the TV or on the radio or something. But other than that, I don't have any history with them.
Okay.
It's like I don't have any history with Michael Schenker, with people talking about now too. I don't have any albums there either, so it's in a different ballpark for me. But Iron Maiden, on the other hand, I have had in my whole life. It was the first cassette I bought. I was probably around 10 or 11. I couldn't a word of English, but Eddie and the Fear of the Dark album, I got on cassette. And it's like purely because of the artwork, because anything else was Greek to me. But Iron Maiden has been with me for my whole life. They are close to my heart. And this particular album, Peace of Mind, I remember I got it on CD first. I don't like the artwork. I like it, but I don't like the Eddie. I don't like that Eddie without the hair and without. For me, Killer's Eddie is the Eddie. So for me, this is not my favorite Eddie. But that's not. But that doesn't change the album. It doesn't have any effect on the album. But it's just. For me, my favorite song on Peace of Mind is Still Life. I'm a Dave Murray fan. I like everything Dave Murray touches. So Still Life is my favorite song on the album. To Tame a Land is number 2. It was supposed to be called Dune, but I think they called the author and he said, no, you can't call the song Dune. So that's why I had to change it to Tame a Land. And of course, Revelations is such a good song. I mean, it's the way Bruce sings it, and it has some different passages, and it's so good. I mean, I really love this album so much. It's been with me for my whole life. I don't have anything really much more to say, but Iron Maiden for me, so I'm gonna be the upset tonight.
You did this a few weeks ago with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes,
you did it again, and hey, we got all different. There's all kinds of. Our ears all work different.
Yeah.
Here's to you, man. Hey.
Steve Levin's never.
I'm not saying Merciful Fate is bad or King Diamond is bad music. It's just it's not my up my alley. It's not my cup of tea.
Steve Levin's never having you over to a party now.
No, Satan himself is more upset than me. I respect Ovi's.
Satan's more. But you're gonna go to heaven over this one, Ovi.
I mean.
No, I'll bring Levin on when I have my black metal episode.
Ove chose wrong, bro. But sometimes that's the way it is.
Well, some people, I've gotten that millions of times in my store over the years when people just can't get into the voice of King Diamond. I get it with Rush all the time too.
Oh yeah.
Hey, our buddy Johnny Mac, he chose Metallica over Slayer. So, and he's the GOAT himself. Johnny Mac from Incan. He chose Metallica over Slayer, so he also decided not to go with Satan. So
I didn't remember that one. Well, John McAtee, if you're listening in, Steve Levin's starting trouble with you tonight.
Oh no, I'm not starting trouble. I'm just saying, Satan's going to remember this when you're getting jumped.
Remember,
well,
maybe Satan's a big fan of 72 seasons coming out.
Levin, I will redeem myself in the future.
All right, you'll have to work up baby steps to get back at Levin's graces. Okay.
No, he's still good. He would still burn a church with me. I know he would.
Oh,
hey guys, I gotta drop off. I gotta go get ready for hockey.
Okay.
See you guys.
Score some goals.
Yeah, man.
And next to last but not least, we've got our metal historian Ralph that's got posters hanging behind him. I think I have the same poster, that Iron Maiden one in the center above your head. Does that one say that one's a tour poster from '83?
Yeah, it says British Metal Onslaught World Peace Tour 1983. It's got the dates.
I
And
was-
that's a
Mhm.
vintage original tour poster.
Does that tell you who the opening acts were on that too, or not?
It just has the dates, and it's all like it's all West Coast dates. So they
Oh,
must have
okay.
came-
I don't have that one. I have one from the event I went, which I'll talk about when I come up.
And this is an original Peace of Mind tour shirt.
Wow. And
Nice.
that doesn't have other bands in the back, so that's a real one.
Yep, that's a real tour
Okay.
shirt.
Do you
I
have the
got-
tour program too?
What's that?
Do you have the tour program?
No, I got the Power Slave tour program, but I don't have
Okay.
that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got the original album also on CD, and I got my old Columbia House cassette.
Wow.
And like Tony, I got the
Yeah.
Cooper.
super single, the maxi single super sound
Mhm.
version with Cross-Eyed Mary on it. And then I
Mhm.
got the 7-inch with I Got the Fire on the other side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Super 7 guys from all Peace of Mind version ones. I got
Eddie.
the
And
McFarlane.
they are available at Rock Fantasy, guys.
Yep, I got all three of them at Rock Fantasy. The McFarlane Peace of Mind toy. Another McFarlane one, the Trooper.
This is a museum we're getting taken through. Who said someone had a heavy metal museum? Was his name Ralph? Has to be.
Ralph's house.
Got the Trooper bobblehead. Another little Trooper guy. Got this cloth version of Eddie.
Yeah.
I've got a trooper like that, the action figure with the cloth clothes.
I think NECA made those.
Yeah, that could do.
This thing's like a 3D poster.
Oh wow.
My wife found this at Bed Bath and Beyond.
Really? Bed
Yeah.
Bath Beyond.
That's awesome.
I don't usually go shopping for my Iron Maiden merchandise there.
The most
Yeah.
metal store ever.
Did it have any pillows?
Get some scented candles too while you're there.
bedspreads?
Boy, that's underground metal for you, huh?
Oh boy, here we go with Levin now.
So 1983, I'm totally obsessed with Maiden, Priest, and Ozzy and Dio. My room was like all Maiden posters and Priest posters. I didn't get the Merciful Fate till a couple years later, but Peace of Mind is it's my favorite Bruce Dickinson album. It's my favorite sounding Iron Maiden album out of all the albums. Just the sound quality, the production wise, I think it's the best sounding one. I love Peace of Mind. It's such a great album. I give it a 10. But even though with all that Maiden stuff that I got going, I got to go. I got my original Merciful Fate. I got a CD, of course, and I got the cassette of that too.
Man, that was the biggest fake out in the history of this show, right? Ralph shows like 30 million things for me. He's like, but I'm going to pick Merciful Fate anyway.
You did the biggest fake out too, Pete. You did it also. We don't know what he didn't say which one he's picking yet, did he?
Steve, the warm-up band for Maiden for that tour was Fastway first, then Fastway and Corny Hatch, and then on the latest part of the tour, it was Quiet Riot.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Steve, it was Fastway at the Middleton Civic Center, if I remember correctly.
I didn't see it at the Civic Center.
No?
No, I saw it a little more upstate.
So yeah, like Tony too. I got the Black Masses, Black Funeral,
Mhm.
12-inch, but I also have the 7-inch picture disc.
Wow, that's cool.
Killer. And that was put out from Megaforce, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the Immortals of Metal.
Yeah, I think it's the first thing they ever did for Megaforce.
Yeah, the first Megaforce release. Yeah.
Wow.
The Knuckle Bones, King Diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I mean, Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind is, probably in a top 30 album of all time for me. I never did like a ranking of my favorite album, but Melissa is a top 5 album of all time.
Okay.
Of all music to me. It is such a perfect album. It's the best sounding album by them. It's my favorite Merciful Fate, of course, but I think like the sound quality is unbelievable on it. The drums sound so perfect on this. The guitars are unbelievable. King's voice is so magical and evil. When I was a little kid, and before I even listened to the Melissa for the first time, I remember hearing a myth about if you played Melissa backwards, the witch will come out of the smoke and stuff, and on your turntable and stuff. So it was like a scary, like dangerous album at the time. And I remember like when Life After Death, the VHS came out, there's a part where Bruce Dickinson's talking about like, oh, we are not a satanic band and stuff, because he was like defending Number of the Beast. And I remember thinking, oh, that's weird. He's like saying how they're not like he has to make it a point that they're not evil. But then I heard King Diamond before I even heard it, like it's one of his albums. I heard him on like Metal Shop or Midnight Metal, one of those radio shows like at midnight that came on. And King Diamond was talking all about his true beliefs in Satanism and stuff. So that was like scary to me. Like, holy shit, this guy's the real deal. He's like really into this. He's friends with Anton LaVey and part of the Church of Satan. And when I finally got that album, I felt like I had something dangerous to listen to. It was like so scary. I had it before I had Slayer or Venom. Merciful Fate was the first like truly like evil satanic band. And like all of you have said, it holds up today so good. You couldn't do a better production for that. To me, it's a 10 out of 10. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. So Merciful Fate all the way.
All right.
Oh, I got one more.
More props.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. This one comes with like the little
that's the best. I got one of those. Those are great.
It's a Super 7 Ultimate, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yep.
Yeah, Frank that works for me got one of those for his birthday. I saw.
I got a couple of the Merciful Fate and King Diamond 7.
No, I gotta show mine because another vote.
Little King Diamond.
Yeah.
There was an Instagram page someone has called Little King Diamond, and they take that little action figure and just put it with different backgrounds. It's pretty funny.
All right, so I guess I'm not the tiebreaker tonight by any means, because now some weeks we come to the end and it's like 5-5 and it's my turn to do things. So it doesn't make much difference what I pick. And it's a tough one, a real tough one for me, because man, I love that Merciful Fate record so much. And I don't know, but when I listen to that Maiden album, to me, right now, I'm going with Maiden tonight.
Oh yeah.
I love Iron Maiden. Now, Steve, you can't even talk about it because when you worked for me, you never even heard Power Slave. I think I had to play it for you like 5 years ago.
No, that's not true.
Or somewhere in time, something like that. You never heard. It was something. It was something that wasn't too old.
After Power Slave, I wanted nothing to do with it because
he was done. So I'm not. I don't care if he's mad at me or not.
No,
I can. Can I make it a tie? Can I pull a Pardo? No. Can't do that. The reason I slide into the Iron Maiden with this is because I loved this record when it came out so much. I haven't gone back. I go back and listen to this one way more than I do Merciful Fate, even though I love that album too. I both perfect albums to me. I like Quest for Fire. I like the whole album. I was just listening to this. I first listened to this again a Friday or Saturday when I was on a road trip, and I was really thinking, man, Fate's going to slaughter this record. And then after I listened to it, I kind of went back to it, and then I realized just from songs like The Trooper, even though it's played out, it's such a freaking strong song in the heavy metal world. Like you hear that it's like if you go to any like metal show, I think even we went to see Vader the other night, or you went to see Amon Amarth or anybody, they will put that on right before these bands come on. It just gets the crowd going with the choruses and the singing and everything. That's why I'm leaning with Maiden on this. So it's hard for me to go against it. And I love Die With Your Boots On. I think it's another great song.
Yeah,
I love The Flight of Icarus,
really
Revelations, and I'm going to go against Craig. I love To Tame a Land. That whole and that thing. And I saw the tour August 23rd, 1983 at Glens Falls Civic Center. I was with my wife and my sister-in-law, rest in peace, Tony, and we went up to Glens Falls. We used to always go to Glens Falls Civic Center for some reason. I remember, I think it was in Poughkeepsie maybe the next night, but we wanted to go to Lake George, which is for people that aren't around New York State, is like a resort town. I remember going to the show, getting that Peace of Mind shirt and just wearing it proudly the next day. We went to Lake George, to the resort town. We went to the amusement park there, which is a Six Flags now. We were going on all the roller coasters, and you'd see all these other people or kids that were at the show wearing their Iron Maiden shirts at the amusement park the next day. So those are fond memories, to me. And so I guess I'm the fly in the ointment. I'm glad Ove went fly in the ointment first, but so I wasn't the only one to get hated on tonight. But by this panel. Hey, but Butch Jones' panel, I would have fit in well with. Maybe it's a little more. I knew that we're more of a hardcore group here than Butch's audience, so that's probably what had to do a lot. But Merciful Fate, another amazing, perfect album. And I tell you what, seeing both these bands last fall, I saw Maiden and Queens, I saw Fate and Queens, and both Dickinson and King Diamond, their voices at their age are perfect still. I'd say King Diamond's even more. I mean, we were like looking around. Is there like lip syncing going on here? Is there someone's like his wife was filming it? Because I know in King Diamond proper
Does backing vocals.
she does backing vocals. I didn't see any proof of it anywhere. And he sounded amazing. So maybe by next week I'll change my mind. Nick Franco
changed after the cancer.
Nick Franco texted me and said that Peace of Mind hands down. So Nick from Pete Pardo's channel went with of course Up the Irons. Who knows what Ryan Scott would have picked tonight? You never know with him.
I think he would have picked Merciful Fate.
He might have, yeah. I mean, I'm such a big Maiden fan though too, but it's tough, And Satan's Fall, what an amazing song. And how they did that live last fall at the Sound of the Demon Bell, Curse of the Pharaohs. Maybe tomorrow I change my mind. If we redo this next week, I might pick Merciful Fate instead.
Hey, remember, Into the Coven made the Filthy 15 from the PMRC.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Steve Levin might make the Filthy 15 for the PMRC after tonight's episode.
I was wondering if Levin played his record backwards and saw the witch come out like we were saying earlier.
Well, there was a whole thing about Peace of Mind where you play that backwards.
Oh yeah, the beginning of Still Life.
Yeah, I think that Eddie could out and get like Kit Kat bars or something.
Your brain leaks out of your ear.
Steve Levin's never getting invited to Nico's House of Ribs down there in Fort Myers or Naples, Florida. I don't think.
So one thing that I want to say is just that, with what Steve was saying is that one thing that really, especially as we get older, that comes into play very much is the nostalgia of everything. Stuff that we remember from when we were kids. There's actually music. Like, I'm not a fan of some stuff, but if a song comes on the radio, I'll be like, wow. When I used to stay up till 3 a.m. watching Headbangers Ball just to watch those last 3 or 4 songs that they would play, like we would hear these songs all the time. So there's always a certain nostalgia. It takes you back to different times. So music is a magical thing like that. So
for sure.
It comes into play a lot. And especially like with Ove, it's like, what you hear first is a lot of times what you're going to like more so than other stuff. So it comes into play when you pick up on a band as opposed to when you pick up on another band. So, I just always feel like, and especially myself, as I get older, just the nostalgia, sometimes seeing these old album covers, even from bands I didn't like, it's just like, oh man, I remember that. I was like this, I was like 14 years old when that came out, and I used to go to the record store and I would see that all the time. So just, it's very understandable, really. I mean, Satan is still upset, but Levin understands.
Hey, I think it was a fun episode tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed it. We'll be back on the channel next week. I'm not quite sure what the subject will be. We may go delve into 73 again. We've been talking about Dark Side of the Moon and Emerson, Lake and Palmer doing something, switching it up a little bit, but we'll see what happens. And we'll be back on the channel next week. And does anybody got any other closing statements they want to make before we wrap it up? Pete Pardo, what do you got going on over there on your channel? Maybe. I'm sorry, Myles. Go ahead.
Hail Satan.
Oh,
yes.
Up the irons, Eddie.
Stay tuned for an interview with Satan tomorrow on Satan.
Wait a minute.
band?
Are you interviewing the band Satan tomorrow?
Just kidding.
No, okay. Well, you could be, yeah. And it's Satan, not really evil either. They're just named after Satan.
Yeah, they were just in the States.
They are. Well, Satan's on tour. Actually, I think Scow said he's going to see him this Sunday, Easter Sunday. They're playing.
I'm seeing him on Friday. Yeah.
Awesome. They're great. They're
They're
great.
playing a dingbat.
I tell you what, if you have enough money, next week, after Easter comes through this weekend, you can go to concerts every night in the New York City, Philadelphia, Connecticut, New Jersey area. You've got Goat Horde Tour. You've got I Hate God. You've got Incantation coming in. You've got Morbid Angel Tour. And, I'd like to take a moment of silence for, I guess this is our moment of silence. We'll be quiet for a second. For that Morbid Angel Tour. I was working at a show here in Middletown at Quinspins that I've been, one of the shows we put together, and I had one of the patrons come in and go looking on his phone like, did you see what just happened? And then everybody was kind of opening their phones and scrolling through. It's just horrible. I just couldn't imagine being at a concert and like the ceiling falling in, and we lost one life. There's people that are probably maimed forever, and you got to give those guys a lot of credit for continuing on with this tour. I thought of the logistics of, is the equipment still in there? Can they go get like their equipment, the merchandise, everything else that's in there, and to go on? And it's all these bands have been so hungry to get back on tour after the pandemic. It's just a tragic situation. So my heart goes out to everyone that was at that show or involved with the tours. And they will be in New York City if everybody's local, if they want to check out the Revocation, Skeletal Remains, Crypta, and Morbid Angel that's next Tuesday. And then Thursday you have Carcass and Municipal Waste in New York City. The same night as Dying Fetus is in town, and Goat Whore and I Hate God. You've got Satan roaming around. I forget what else, but there's a million tours next week. And the Philadelphia Beer and Metal Fest is next weekend also in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we got that Carcass show Tuesday here in North Carolina, so I'm going to that.
Cool. I'm going to see Enslaved, Insomnia, and Black Anvil Wednesday. Friday night we have a big show in Quinns. If you guys are local, you want to come out. We have Fire Haze coming in from New York City. We have Festigore from Philadelphia, Overturn from the local Hudson Valley. We have Torturous Inception coming in from New Jersey. We have Burn the Ships and the Croptic Engorgement, and it's Christina from Burn the Ship's birthday party. So it's a free show. So if you're in the Hudson Valley area, please come out and support and wish her a happy birthday and come heavy metal. We got Steve Levin coming in the end of the month. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be a really good show. It's going to be one of Sick Bay. I think it might be their first show back with the new lineup, and they are all really big. Sick Bay, Abuse Ritual, our good friends. My band Mechanical Menace, Violent by Design, and my buddy Andrew and his boys. And oh my God, Servants of Sorrow.
Servant of Sorrow. Yep.
Drew a blank for a minute.
There's gonna be plenty of, put your dancing shoes on for that night.
Fuck yeah, man. We expect some violence, but friendly violence.
So take a second and in the comments and list what you like about this episode and whether you liked Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind better or Merciful Fate's Melissa. And please take a second to like and the channel and all that stuff. And Mr. Pardo will be back next Monday night with his regularly scheduled broadcast of the Hudson Valley Squares. I think we're talking about the best closers next week, right?
That's right. Closing songs. Yep.
Cool.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
So we will see you next time. Boom. For everyone here, we'll see you next time. Stay safe and go out and support some metal shows.